Why would a man who had already lost his home, his name, and his physical wholeness draw a line at a piece of meat? To the modern mind, Daniel's refusal of the king's food looks like legalistic dieting. But in the spiritual realm, it was a declaration of war. Today, we look at why the dinner table was the ultimate battlefield for Daniel's soul. Hello, and welcome to Bible Talk. I'm your host, T. I am not a theologian. I'm just a woman who loves God and wants others to truly understand the depths of faith we should have. Today, we dive into the horrific spiritual reality of the Babylonian royal diet and why eating from the king's table was an act of covenant betrayal. I read from the Christian Standard Bible, so right now we're going to go into Daniel chapter 1, verse 8, and it reads, Daniel determined that he would not defile himself with the king's delicacies or with the wine he drank, so he asked permission from the chief eunuch not to defile himself. So we look at the analysis of this. The spiritual horror, delicacies, is a polite word. In Babylon, the meat served at the king's table was offered to idols. To eat it was to participate in a sacrificial meal to demons. So let's talk about the logical boundary. Daniel knew he could not control his name change or his forced education, but he could control what he put in his mouth. This was his boundary of identity. The emotional weight. Imagine the pressure the king is providing for you. To refuse it is to insult the king's generosity. It's like being a guest at a wedding and refusing the cake, except for here, the host can have you executed on the spot. So let's look at the biblical references. Daniel was adhering to Leviticus chapter 11, which is kosher laws, under Exodus chapter 34, verse 15, which warns against eating sacrifices offered to other gods. He chose physical hunger over spiritual defilement. If you can't say no to a meal, you'll never say no to an idol. So the skeptic might ask, doesn't God care about the heart? Why would he care about what Daniel ate? This seems like such a trivial thing to risk a life over. Nothing is trivial when it involves allegiance. By eating the king's food, Daniel would be acknowledging the king as his provider and Lord. By choosing vegetables and water, he was declaring that Yahweh was his provider. It was a test of trust. Could God sustain a body on water better than the king could sustain it on wine? The answer had to be proven in the flesh. So here's my theological challenge. We often compromise on the small things because we think they don't matter. But your small compromises are the training ground for your great betrayals. Daniel and his friends' refusal was the foundation for the fiery furnace and the lion's den. Daniel asked for a test, 10 days, water and vegetables only, versus the king's buffet. It was a scientific experiment with supernatural stakes. So now, here are my 3 questions for you to help build your faith. Number 1, what is the king's meat in your life? Something the world offers that feels like a privilege, but defiles your spirit. Number 2, are you willing to be odd or difficult in social settings to maintain your holiness? Number 3, do you trust God's provision more than the world's benefit package? In the next video, we're going to discuss the 10-day trial, the science of the supernatural health. But until next time, you have a blessed day. Bye for now.